Let me explain what we have going on here. This is the back of the seat. This will be the back of the car. This amplifier has to sit as far back as possible to avoid all this mechanism that's going on here. The RCAs are coming up this side. They're going to be running along the center console. Our speaker wire is doing the same thing. This is the speed wire. For those of you that have never seen speed wire before, it's basically the thickness of a 4 gauge, and inside of it are 8 18 gauge speaker wires that are what you saw here. So there's white, white, black, gray, gray, black, green, green, black, purple, purple, black, as well as a remote turn on. So there's 9 wires inside of it. It makes running speaker wires for output as well as if you're doing high level input awesome. We use it all the time for both sides of the amplifier. We have our 4 gauge coming out of here. As it goes through this area here, it is stacked on top of one another. And the reason why we did that is to keep it as thin as possible and give us a gap here between the two. Our subwire comes out, goes down. It heads underneath the amplifier and then pops back in. The same is true for our bass knob. It's just gonna pop in. And that is to go under this run here. We did that over here because of how tight this was. The subwire picks up right here and runs along. It was just more of a fact of trying to fit all this wiring in this tight spot. This was all the room we had. And the reason why we didn't just flip the amplifier is because then those wires would have had to cross out here. The power wire is on, this is the floor sill area here. So this will run out to the battery and up underneath the hood. We have our ground, our bass knob. This guy is done, and you know what that means? That means we're going to take it over to the car, get this thing installed. So this is the Stinger X fuse. A couple cool things about this fuse holder is it'll take a full-size fuse across here or the mini fuse here. You can build it as a whole system, meaning you can stack them together. You can make a distribution block out of it where you can put this across here and then add these across like this. You can use a 0, 8, or 4 gauge wire into this. Now we have done a full review and built the whole block system out of this. We put it in Fernando's car in the lab. I'll try to link to that in the description below, so if you guys want to know more about that fuse holder, you can check them out. The kit we used comes with this. We're going to be using 4 gauge, so we'll remove the 2 8 gauge rings. We're going to put this little guy in it. Yay. The first thing we're going to do is actually find a place to put the fuse holder. It's a big space in here. I find this hole and I'm going to make a bracket, like a L bracket. It's going to stand from here and we're going to put the fuse holder right in the corner of the battery. Then we run our wire this way from the amplifier here. So let's go and cut some plastic. With the amp in place, let's kind of talk about the thought process behind the wiring and where it's going to go in the car. The signal and the speaker wire are going to run up this side. Our ground, power wire, subwoofer wire, and bass knob are all going to come up this side of the car. We're going to create a few holes here for that wire to run and have it follow the factory here up through this area. And then we'll pull apart the dash, get our wires snaked up from behind. See how this pocket is really deep? It comes back into this area. So there's not a really, like, you don't just come up like this. You have to come back, as we were saying, and then up into the dash. So that's why we went with a little bit longer RCA. So the power wire is routed in place and up in the firewall. Behind the master cylinder, there is a grommet. You do have to cut a little slit here in the carpet to get to it. It is kind of small. We use a really big bit to widen out the holes so that you do have some space between the firewall and the master cylinder. Not much, but just enough so we can get it to where we can put a 4 gauge through with no issues. And then of course we've covered it with 3M strip caulk and we can tuck this back up. We've ran the wire in through this hole so it goes behind the jute area here so you can't even see where the wire comes in. saw a red power wire came along here, zip tied up into place, and then he made a mount. Attached it to 2 factory holes here, made an S-bend, brought the fuse holder out, wire wraps around, did some double-decker action, and our Stinger X fuse is mounted and ready to go. Now that we have this off, we need to ground the amplifier. I like to do that before I forget. Believe it or not, it happens. Right, Fernando?
Oh, a lot. Especially me.
You get done and it won't work, and I go, did we do a Fernando ground?
What?
For that, we're going to be using our positiveground.com kit. The first thing we need to do is drill a hole. It comes with the bit to do that, to scrape the paint away, and then it comes with the threaded nut as well as the socket for it. Line that up with the hole you just made and push. You get this nice circular pattern here. Make sure all the paint is off. Switch to my impact. There we go. That ground ain't coming up for nothing. To get to this area here, it is way easier just to remove the back part of the seat. To do that, there's these 2 little plates that cover up on each end. Pop those covers off, and then there's 2 14mm bolts behind each one. Now, we're gonna have to take it off anyways because we need to remove the back portion of this. So the piece that's like this on the back of that, that's coming off so that we can get the most amount of bass possible into the car. We also need to remove this one for right now because we have to remove this lip in order for our box to fit in there flush. Just remove the 3 10mm bolts. You don't have to remove these pieces up here. Repeat the process on the driver's side. Once the driver's side is out, the passenger side will lift right out and come clean. Removing the seat bracket does make it easier to run our speaker wire behind this panel. There is this nice frame rail along here. It has these big openings on both ends that make it real easy to get wire from one side to the other. Now, no 5-channel amp would be complete without a subwoofer. And for this, we're going to be using the new MX series shallow mount woofer. This sexy beast right here. To get the ohm load we're looking for, we need a dual 4-ohm voice coil, which is what we have here. Now, a couple specs about this woofer. Look at that cone. This is a 300 watt woofer with a 600 watt peak. It comes in dual 4-ohm or dual 2-ohm. Mounting depth is 3.5 inches. The diameter of the hole is 9.25 inches. Has linear excursion of 11 millimeters. And of course, if you want all the parameters, you can find them on their website. In the owner's manual, they do give you a nice how-to wire up a single or a dual subwoofer configuration. And they give you their sealed enclosure recommendations for this woofer. This particular woofer, it will work anywhere between half a cube to a full cubic foot of airspace. They do recommend it sealed on this and not ported, just because of the way the motor structure is designed. And of course, you also get the all-important warranty card. For this installation, we'll be going with a wedge-style truck box. It's gonna sit like this behind the passenger seat. One of the reasons I like this box, this height, why we have it made this way, because we can make nice little brackets that go here into the seatbelt clips, and this will lock the box into place. We add a couple screws, and now this box won't move around and smack the back of the seat. Nice and secure. Let's head to the back where that rear seat is, and I'll show you the piece that we're gonna be removing. It's this piece right here. There's 3 screws, and then all you have to do is pull it this way, and it comes up. And the reason why we remove it is the woofer is going to sit here and smack into it. This is thick plastic. No one's gonna see this. The woofer's behind it. Let's give the woofer a fighting chance by removing that. What I like to do is pull these screws out, put them back into these 3 locations, and then the panels will clip back in place so that we can just give this whole piece back. With the seat back in, as this folds up, there is a ton of room for that woofer to breathe. And the rear of the car is done. Let's hop into the front seat, get those RCAs put up into place. Seat is all back together and the amplifier is nicely tucked in. Bye-bye, amplifier. taking advantage of the full EQ that it has and a little eye test mic, and of course it's picking up me talking. Get this guy out of here, do a little bit of listening and see how it sounds now. All right, she sounds good. It's got a good bass response. Those MX speakers in the door sound wonderful now that they have some power. Really getting a lot out of them. I mean, I did my voice check, which is kind of what I like to do because it's nice, crystal clear, and I can't hear myself talk. It's pretty nice. What'd you think?
Awesome.
Man of so many words. What else do you need to hear? We had a good time. It's been fun. It's been real.
On to the next one, guys.
Thank you so much for watching as always. You guys have a great night. We'll see you later next time.
Bye.
Bye.